Jake Morrison pressed his face against the viewing port and stared at the massive structure floating in space. The alien station called Nexus Prime stretched across the darkness like a metal city. Its towers and rings spun slowly while bright lights marked thousands of windows and docking bays. Jake had seen many human stations before, but nothing this big or complex. The ship New Horizon moved closer to the station. Captain Lisa Hartford stood beside Jake and watched the same view. She looked impressed but tried not to show it. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrian Collective, and they had invited humans to see their greatest creation. This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting between two space-traveling races. "Pretty impressive for a bunch of lizards," said Ryan Torres from behind them. The security chief always made jokes when he felt nervous. Jake knew Ryan was worried about this mission. Meeting aliens for the first time made everyone nervous. Jake kept staring at the station. Something about it bothered him, but he could not figure out what. The design looked familiar somehow. The way the power lines ran along the outer hull reminded him of something he had seen before. The central core design with its spinning rings looked like plans he had worked on years ago. "All diplomatic personnel to the shuttle bay," announced the ship's computer. Jake grabbed his equipment bag and followed Captain Hartford through the corridors. As the ship's chief engineer, he was part of the diplomatic team. His job was to study alien technology and report back to Earth. The shuttle ride to Nexus Prime took 20 minutes. Jake sat quietly while the others talked about the mission. Dr. Paul Anderson, their science officer, read reports about Zephyrian culture. Communications officer Claire Johnson checked her translation equipment. Everyone seemed excited except Jake. The familiar feeling about the station kept bothering him. The shuttle docked at a huge bay inside the station. Jake followed the team through an airlock and into a corridor that stretched as far as he could see. The walls were made of a strange blue metal that seemed to glow from within. Gravity felt normal and the air smelled like nothing at all. "Welcome to Nexus Prime," said a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. A tall alien walked toward them on 4 legs. Its skin looked like green leather, and it had 2 arms that ended in hands with too many fingers. "I am Administrator Vexthul. We are honored to show you our greatest achievement." Captain Hartford stepped forward and gave the formal greeting they had practiced. Jake half listened while he looked around the corridor. The ceiling supports were arranged in a pattern that looked very familiar. The power conduits ran in lines that he knew he had seen somewhere before. Administrator Vexthul led them through the station. He showed them living areas where thousands of Zephyrians worked and lived. He took them to observation decks where they could see the entire system of planets and moons. He explained how the station could support 500,000 beings and defend itself against any attack. "This station represents 100 years of Zephyrian engineering," said Vexthul as they walked through a massive engineering section. "Our greatest minds work together to create something that has never been built before." Jake stopped walking. He stared at a control panel beside him and felt his stomach drop. The panel layout was exactly the same as the ones he had designed for Project Meridian 5 years ago. Every button and display screen was in the same place. Even the colors were the same. "Something wrong, Jake?" asked Captain Hartford. Jake pointed at the control panel. "This looks like human technology," he said quietly. Administrator Vexthul made a sound like laughing. "Impossible. This is pure Zephyrian design. We have been building advanced technology since before your species left your home planet." Jake walked to another control station. It was identical to his Project Meridian designs. He opened a maintenance panel and looked at the wiring inside. The wire colors and connection patterns were exactly the same as his blueprints. This was not just similar technology. This was his technology. "Captain, I need to talk to you," Jake said in a low voice. Hartford excused them from the group for a moment. Jake explained what he was seeing. He told her about Project Meridian and how the designs were supposed to be destroyed when the project was canceled. He pointed out specific details that only he would know about. "Are you sure about this?" asked Hartford. Jake led her to a power distribution hub. He opened a hidden panel that was not marked on any diagrams. Inside were the backup power relays that he had designed as a safety feature. No alien engineer would have known to include them. "These relays are my design," Jake said. "I wrote the specifications myself. There is no way the Zephyrians could have come up with this independently." Captain Hartford looked worried. If Jake was right, then the aliens had somehow stolen human technology. But how could they have gotten classified blueprints from a cancelled Earth project? Administrator Vexthul returned and continued the tour. Jake paid attention to every detail now. The quantum stabilizers in the power core were based on his equations. The artificial gravity generators used his field harmonics. Even the life support systems followed his atmospheric processing algorithms. The evidence kept piling up. In the computer core, Jake spotted code structures that he had written himself. There were even comments in the programming that used his personal shorthand. The aliens had not just stolen his technology. They had copied everything down to the smallest details. "This is incredible," said Dr. Anderson as they toured the medical facilities. "Their technology is so advanced." Jake wanted to tell him the truth but decided to wait. He needed more proof before making accusations. He also needed to figure out how the Zephyrians had gotten his blueprints and what they planned to do with the technology. As the tour continued, Jake noticed something else. The Zephyrians talked about their technology with great pride. They acted like they had invented everything themselves. Administrator Vexthul kept mentioning how superior their engineering was compared to other races, especially humans. "Your species shows promise," Vexthul said to Captain Hartford. "Perhaps in a few hundred years you will develop technology half as advanced as this station." Jake felt angry, but kept quiet. The aliens were not just thieves. They were using stolen human technology to claim superiority over humans. They had built their greatest achievement using his designs and then invited humans to admire it. The tour ended in the main control center. Jake looked at screens and displays that were identical to his Project Meridian command center design. Everything from the chair heights to the screen angles matched his blueprints perfectly. "Thank you for this amazing tour," said Captain Hartford. "We hope to continue building friendship between our peoples." Administrator Vexthul made his grinding laugh sound again. "Indeed. Perhaps we can teach your engineers some of our advanced methods." Jake almost spoke up but caught himself. He had learned enough for now. The aliens had stolen his technology and were using it to mock humanity, but they had made one big mistake. They did not know that the original designer was standing right in front of them. As they returned to their shuttle, Jake began thinking about what to do next. Simply reporting the theft would not be enough. The Zephyrians would deny everything and claim the similarities were coincidences. Jake needed a better plan. He looked back at Nexus Prime as the shuttle pulled away. The massive station rotated slowly in space, powered by his designs and controlled by his systems. The aliens thought they had built the perfect symbol of their technological superiority. They had no idea they had just shown their greatest weakness to the one human who could exploit it. Jake sat in the conference room aboard the New Horizon and spread his evidence across the table. Captain Hartford studied the photos he had taken during the station tour. Communications Officer Claire Johnson compared the alien control layouts with Jake's old Project Meridian blueprints. Security Chief Ryan Torres paced back and forth looking angry. "This is unbelievable," said Hartford. "How did they get these designs?" Jake had been wondering the same thing. Project Meridian was classified at the highest levels. Only a few dozen people had access to the complete blueprints. When the project was canceled 5 years ago, all copies were supposed to be destroyed. "Someone sold us out," said Ryan. "Has to be. No way aliens could steal files from Earth Command computers." Claire pulled up her analysis on the main screen. "I found something interesting in the communication logs. 3 years ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected unusual transmissions from the Kepler system. The signals were dismissed as natural phenomena at the time." Jake looked at the transmission data. The frequency patterns looked familiar. They matched the quantum encryption protocols he had designed for Project Meridian communications. "These are not natural signals," he said. "Someone was using my encryption to send data to the Zephyrians." "A human traitor," said Ryan. "Someone with access to the Project Meridian files." Captain Hartford stood up and walked to the viewing port. Outside, Nexus Prime continued its slow rotation. "The question now is, what do we do about it? We could expose the theft when we return to Earth, but that might take months to investigate." Jake had been thinking about this problem since the tour ended. Simple exposure would not be enough. The Zephyrians would deny everything and claim the similarities were coincidences. They might even say that humans had stolen from them. Without the original traitor, it would be difficult to prove anything. "I have a better idea," Jake said quietly. The others turned to look at him. Jake stood up and pointed at the station outside. They built that entire station using my designs. Every system, every backup protocol, every safety measure. They copied everything exactly. So? Asked Ryan. So they do not understand what they copied, Jake explained. They have the blueprints, but they do not have the knowledge that created those blueprints. They do not know about the hidden systems I built into the design. Captain Hartford raised an eyebrow. Hidden systems? Jake smiled for the first time since discovering the theft. Project Meridian was designed for military use. I built in multiple backdoors and override protocols for security purposes. Emergency access codes that could take control of any system if needed. The Zephyrians copied the blueprints, but they do not know these backdoors exist. Claire leaned forward with interest. You could hack their own station? Not hack, said Jake. Take control. Complete control. I designed every circuit and every program in that station. I know exactly how to access any system from anywhere on the station. Ryan stopped pacing and grinned. Now that would be some payback. Jake began explaining his plan. The backdoors he had built into Project Meridian were designed to be invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. They were buried deep in the system architecture and disguised as normal operational code. Even human engineers would have trouble finding them without the proper access keys. The beautiful part is that I do not need to break into anything, Jake said. I designed these systems. The backdoors are supposed to be there. The Zephyrians just do not know it. Captain Hartford looked worried. This sounds dangerous. If they catch you tampering with their systems, it could cause a diplomatic incident. Only if they catch me, said Jake. But I know these systems better than they do. I can access everything remotely once I plant the right access codes. Dr. Paul Anderson entered the conference room and sat down heavily. He looked troubled about something. I need to tell you what I overheard during the medical facility tour, he said. Everyone turned to listen. Paul had been separated from the main group while examining Zephyrian biological samples. His translator had picked up conversations between alien medical staff. They were talking about something called the Purification Protocol, Paul said. From what I could understand, it involves using Nexus Prime as a staging area for military operations against human colonies. The room went silent. Jake felt cold as the implications hit him. The Zephyrians had not just stolen human technology for prestige. They were planning to use it as a weapon against humanity. Are you sure about this? Asked Hartford. Paul nodded grimly. They mentioned timetables and target lists. They talked about demonstrating superior technology to demoralize human defenders before attacking. Captain, I think this whole diplomatic meeting is a setup. Ryan slammed his fist on the table. They invite us here to show off stolen human tech, then plan to use that same tech to attack our colonies. These lizards have some nerve. Jake stood up and walked to the viewing port. Nexus Prime looked even more sinister now that he knew its true purpose. The aliens had stolen his life's work and turned it into a weapon aimed at his own species. They thought they were so clever, using human engineering to destroy humanity. This changes everything, said Captain Hartford. We need to warn Earth Command immediately. Warn them about what? Asked Jake. That alien stole some old blueprints and built a station? By the time Earth responds, the Zephyrians could have attacked a dozen colonies. Claire pulled up star charts on her screen. He is right. The nearest human settlements are only 3 days away at maximum speed. Even emergency transmissions to Earth take 2 weeks. Jake turned back to the group with determination in his eyes. We stop them ourselves. Right here, right now. How? Asked Ryan. Jake pointed at Nexus Prime. I take control of their station using my own backdoors. I shut down their weapons, lock them out of their own systems, and turn their symbol of superiority into a prison. The plan began taking shape as they discussed details. Jake would need extended access to the station's computer systems. That meant going back as part of a follow-up technical exchange. He would pose as a human engineer eager to learn from superior Zephyrian technology. They will love that, said Claire. Their egos are bigger than their station. Captain Hartford assigned roles to each team member. Ryan would monitor communications and watch for signs of Zephyrian military preparations. Paul would continue gathering intelligence about their plans. Claire would maintain secure contact with Jake during his infiltration. What about backup plans? Asked Ryan. What if something goes wrong? Jake had thought about that too. If I get caught before completing the takeover, we run. Get back to Earth and warn them about the threat. But if I succeed in taking control, we hold the station until Earth can send reinforcements. Hold it with what? Asked Paul. We have one small diplomatic vessel against a battle station. Jake smiled grimly. We hold it with their own weapons. Once I control the station, I control everything. Their defensive systems, their manufacturing facilities, their life support, everything. Captain Hartford made the final decision. We try it. Jake, you will request permission for extended technical study. Make them think you are impressed by their engineering. Appeal to their pride, Jake nodded. He could play that role easily enough. The Zephyrians clearly enjoyed showing off what they thought was their superior technology. They would welcome a chance to educate a primitive human engineer. There is one more thing, said Jake. I need someone to watch my back while I work, someone who can keep lookout and help with technical tasks. I will go, said Claire immediately. Too obvious, said Ryan. Communications officer would make them suspicious. Take one of the junior engineers. Someone who seems harmless. Jake thought about the ship's crew roster. Kate Phillips from reactor maintenance. She is smart, calm under pressure, and knows computer systems. Captain Hartford agreed to the plan. They would request permission for Jake and Kate to return to the station for detailed technical study. The Zephyrians would think they were hosting impressed human students. Instead, they would be hosting the original designer of their entire station. As the meeting broke up, Jake looked out at Nexus Prime one more time. The aliens had made a fatal mistake when they chose to steal his technology. They thought they understood what they had copied, but they only saw the surface. The real power of Jake's designs lay in the hidden systems they knew nothing about. Soon, the Zephyrians would learn that stealing human technology came with unexpected consequences. Their greatest achievement would become their greatest vulnerability. Jake Morrison was going to take back what was his, and he was going to use it to protect humanity from the very beings who had stolen it. The irony was perfect. The aliens had built their weapon using human plans. Now a human engineer was going to turn that weapon against them. Jake stood in the shuttle bay adjusting his equipment pack, while Kate Phillips checked her portable computer tools. They were about to return to Nexus Prime for what the Zephyrians believed was an educational visit. Jake had spent hours practicing his humble and impressed act for Administrator Vexthul. Remember, we are just curious humans who want to learn from superior alien technology, Jake told Kate as their shuttle approached the station. Act amazed by everything you see. Kate nodded nervously. She was a good engineer but had never been on a mission like this before. What if they ask technical questions I cannot answer? Just say you are still learning and ask them to explain more, Jake said. These aliens love to show off their knowledge. The more impressed you seem, the more they will talk. The shuttle docked at the same bay they had used during the diplomatic tour. Administrator Vexthul waited for them with his grinding laugh sound. Behind him stood a taller Zephyrian with darker green skin and more scars on his arms. Welcome back, Engineer Morrison, said Vexthul. This is Chief Engineer Crixnell. He will oversee your technical studies and answer your questions about our advanced systems. Jake bowed respectfully and tried to look honored. Thank you for this opportunity. We are eager to learn from your superior engineering methods. Crixnell made a satisfied rumbling sound. Indeed. Perhaps your species will benefit from observing true technological advancement. As they walked through the station corridors, Jake pointed out details that impressed him, while secretly cataloging every system he recognized. The power distribution panels were identical to his designs. The atmospheric processors used his algorithms. Even the lighting controls followed his efficiency calculations. Your gravity generators are remarkable, Jake said to Crixnell. How did you achieve such smooth field transitions between sections? The alien engineer puffed up with pride. Complex harmonic calculations that took decades to perfect. Your human mathematics are probably not advanced enough to understand the principles involved. Jake bit his tongue to keep from laughing. Those harmonics were his equations, copied directly from his Project Meridian files. He had spent 2 years developing the mathematics that Crixnell was claiming as ancient Zephyrian knowledge. They reached the main engineering section where dozens of Zephyrian technicians worked at control stations. Jake immediately recognized the layout from his original blueprints. Everything was exactly where he had planned it, down to the emergency repair stations and backup control nodes. This is our primary systems control center, said Crixnell proudly. From here we monitor and control every aspect of the station. Life support, power generation, defensive systems, everything. Kate played her part perfectly, staring wide-eyed at the displays and asking simple questions. How many people does it take to run all these systems? Currently, we have 300 engineers assigned to core systems, Crixnall replied, though our advanced automation requires far fewer operators than primitive designs would need. Jake walked slowly around the control center, memorizing the positions of every terminal and access point. He spotted the master control node hidden behind a maintenance panel, exactly where he had placed it in his original design. The Zephyrians had copied his blueprint so precisely that even his secret access points were in the right locations. Could we observe the quantum core operation? Jake asked politely. I have never seen such advanced power generation systems. Crixnall hesitated for a moment. The core section is restricted for safety reasons. The quantum fields could be dangerous to your primitive physiology. Of course I understand, Jake said quickly. Perhaps we could just view it from the observation deck? The alien engineer agreed to show them the quantum core from a safe distance. As they walked through the station, Jake made mental notes about guard positions and security protocols. The Zephyrians seemed more concerned about accidental damage than intentional sabotage. They clearly did not consider the humans a threat. The quantum core observation deck provided a perfect view of the station's power generation system. Jake stared at the massive reactor that was built exactly according to his specifications. The containment field generators, the plasma injection systems, the safety shutoffs, everything was identical to his design. Magnificent, Jake said with fake awe. How do you maintain such precise field stability? Crixnall launched into a detailed explanation of the control algorithms, not realizing he was describing Jake's own work back to him. Jake nodded and asked follow-up questions that made the alien engineer feel smart and superior. While Crixnall talked, Jake spotted what he was really looking for. Behind a service panel near the observation window was an access terminal for the core monitoring systems. It was one of his hidden backdoor nodes designed to provide emergency override access to critical systems. Kate, could you get some readings on the radiation levels? Jake asked casually. I want to make sure our equipment is working properly in this environment. Kate understood immediately and moved to a position where she could watch for approaching Zephyrians while Jake worked. She pulled out her scanner and began taking readings near the observation windows. Jake waited until Crixnall was distracted by explaining plasma flow dynamics, then quietly opened the service panel. Inside was the access terminal he had designed 5 years ago. His fingers moved quickly over the interface, entering the master codes he had programmed into the system. The terminal came alive with options that no Zephyrian knew existed. Jake began uploading his control virus into the station's core systems. The virus was designed to spread slowly through the network, establishing backdoor access to every major system without triggering security alerts. Fascinating radiation patterns, Kate said loudly, giving Jake a warning that someone was approaching. Jake closed the panel just as a Zephyrian security officer walked onto the observation deck. The alien nodded politely to the humans and continued on his patrol route. Crixnall had not noticed anything unusual. Would it be possible to see the defensive systems? Jake asked. I am curious about how you protect such a large structure. Crixnall looked pleased by the question. Indeed. Our weapons arrays are the most advanced in the galaxy. No enemy could possibly threaten this station. They spent the next hour touring the defensive control centers. Jake marveled at how the Zephyrians had built massive weapon systems using his stolen designs, without understanding the vulnerabilities he had built into them. Every weapons array had override codes hidden in the targeting systems. Every shield generator had backdoor access points for maintenance and emergency control. As they walked through the weapons control center, Jake planted microtransmitters in strategic locations. The transmitters were quantum encrypted and designed to interface with the human-designed systems. The Zephyrian sensors could not detect them because they were built using the same technology as the stolen station systems. Your targeting computers are incredible, Jake said to the weapons officer on duty. How do you coordinate so many different weapon types? The Zephyrian pulled up targeting displays that showed the entire surrounding star system. Jake could see dozens of weapon platforms positioned around the station, all controlled from this central location. He also noticed targeting data for human colonies, confirming Dr. Anderson's intelligence about planned attacks. Kate continued playing her role as an impressed junior engineer, while secretly helping Jake map the station's defensive network. She asked innocent questions about power consumption and cooling systems that revealed important details about system layouts and backup procedures. "This has been incredibly educational," Jake said as the tour continued. "I hope we can spend more time studying your advanced systems tomorrow," Crixnall agreed enthusiastically. The alien clearly enjoyed having an audience for his technical expertise. "Indeed. Tomorrow I will show you our manufacturing facilities and research laboratories. You will see how true engineering progress is achieved." As they returned to their guest quarters, Jake felt confident about the first phase of his plan. His control virus was spreading through the station systems, establishing hidden access points and gathering system information. The Zephyrians had no idea that their greatest achievement was being systematically compromised by its original designer. "How did it go?" Kate asked quietly once they were alone in their quarters. "Better than expected," Jake replied. "These aliens are so proud of their stolen technology that they are showing me exactly how to take it away from them." Jake activated his portable computer and connected to the quantum transmitters he had planted around the station. Data began flowing in from dozens of critical systems: power distribution networks, life support controls, weapons targeting systems. Everything was responding to his access codes. "The virus is working perfectly," he told Kate as they reviewed the incoming data. "By tomorrow I should have backdoor access to every major system on the station." Kate looked worried. "What if they detect the intrusion?" Jake smiled confidently. "They cannot detect something that is supposed to be there. Every access point I am using was part of my original design. The Zephyrians copied my blueprints exactly, including all the hidden systems they do not know about." As they prepared for the next day's infiltration, Jake felt a growing sense of anticipation. Jake woke up early and checked his portable computer. During the night, his control virus had spread throughout Nexus Prime systems like water flowing through hidden channels. Every major network now had his backdoor access points installed and active. The station's own security systems were reporting everything as normal because they could not detect modifications that were part of the original design. Kate, Philip sat at the small table in their guest quarters, studying the system maps Jake had compiled. "This is incredible," she whispered. "You have access to everything. Life support, artificial gravity, weapons, even the waste recycling systems." Jake nodded as he reviewed the data streams flowing in from around the station. "The Zephyrians built their greatest achievement using my blueprints, but they never understood what they were copying. Every system, every backup protocol, every emergency override was designed by me. I know exactly how everything works because I created it." A message appeared on their quarters communication screen. Chief Engineer Crixnall was requesting their presence in the main engineering section for continued technical studies. Jake and Kate gathered their equipment and prepared for the final phase of the infiltration. As they walked through the station corridors, Jake felt calm despite what he was about to attempt. His control virus had done its work perfectly. He now had complete administrative access to every critical system on Nexus Prime. The Zephyrians had no idea their station was already under human control. "Good morning, Engineer Morrison," said Crixnall when they arrived at the engineering section. "Today I will show you our most advanced manufacturing systems. You will see how we create components that your human technology could never produce." Jake played his role as an impressed human student while secretly activating his hidden control interfaces. Through his portable computer, he could now monitor and control every system on the station in real time. The manufacturing bays, the defensive grids, the life support networks, everything was responding to his commands. "Your plasma forges are remarkable," Jake said as they toured the manufacturing facilities. "I have never seen such precise molecular assembly." Crixnall puffed up with pride, not realizing that the forges were built exactly according to Jake's specifications. Indeed, these systems represent centuries of Zephyrian technological advancement. While the alien engineer explained manufacturing processes, Jake quietly tested his control systems. He adjusted power flow to different sections by tiny amounts, cycled backup systems on and off, and verified that all his override protocols were working correctly. The Zephyrians noticed nothing because the changes were too small to trigger alerts. Kate asked technical questions about cooling systems and waste heat management while Jake continued his final preparations. He established secure communication links with the New Horizon and began uploading critical system data to Captain Hartford. If something went wrong, Earth would at least have detailed intelligence about Zephyrian technology and capabilities. The quantum assemblers are particularly impressive, Jake said as they watched robotic systems building complex components. How do you maintain coherence at such small scales? Crixnall launched into another detailed explanation of technology he did not really understand. Jake listened politely while running final diagnostic checks on his control virus. Every system was responding perfectly. He could shut down the station's defenses, lock out the Zephyrian engineers, or even turn off life support if necessary. A priority alert appeared on Jake's hidden interface. Dr. Paul Anderson was transmitting an urgent message from the New Horizon. The message was encrypted using Project Meridian codes that only Jake could decode. Zephyrian fleet movement detected in outer system, the message read. 12 battlecruisers moving toward human colonies. Attack appears imminent. Recommend immediate action. Jake felt cold anger wash over him. The aliens were not just planning to attack human settlements. They were already moving their forces into position. The diplomatic meeting had been a distraction while they prepared for war. Kate, we need to accelerate our timeline, Jake said quietly while Crixnall was distracted by a manufacturing display. Kate nodded and moved to her lookout position. Jake activated his master control interface and began the final takeover sequence. One by one, critical systems throughout the station switched from Zephyrian control to his hidden command protocols. The first sign of change came when several engineering workstations suddenly locked out their operators. Zephyrian technicians tried entering their access codes but received error messages they had never seen before. Within minutes, half the control terminals in the engineering section were showing system lockouts. What is happening? Crixnall demanded as he rushed to one of the affected workstations. These systems were working perfectly this morning. Jake pretended to look concerned while continuing his takeover. Perhaps it is some kind of cascading system failure. I have seen similar problems with complex networks. More alarms began sounding throughout the station as Jake systematically locked the Zephyrians out of their own systems. Life support remained stable, but all administrative and defensive controls were transferring to his hidden command interfaces. The aliens could still breathe and move around their station, but they could no longer control it. Administrator Vexthel's voice echoed through the station's communication system. All engineering personnel report to emergency stations immediately. We are experiencing widespread system malfunctions. Jake watched his control displays as the takeover spread throughout Nexus Prime. Weapons systems went offline. Defensive shields deactivated. Communications arrays switched to his encryption protocols. The massive station that had been the pride of the Zephyrian collective was now completely under human control. The quantum core is showing instabilities, reported one of the Zephyrian technicians. I cannot access the control systems. Crixnall tried his highest-level access codes on several different terminals, but every attempt was rejected. This is impossible, he said. These are master engineering codes that cannot be overridden. Jake stood up and walked to a central control console. Perhaps I can help, he said politely. My species has experience with system recovery procedures. He entered his Project Meridian master codes into the console. Immediately, all the station displays came alive with information and control options that no Zephyrian had ever seen before. The aliens stared in shock as Jake's interface revealed the true depth of the station's hidden systems. What did you do? Crixnall demanded. Jake turned to face the alien engineer with a calm smile. I accessed the systems using the original administrative codes, the codes that were built into this station when it was first designed. Impossible, said Crixnall. This station was designed by Zephyrian engineers over many years. Jake's smile grew wider. No, it was not. This entire station was built using stolen human technology, specifically technology that I designed for a project called Meridian 5 years ago. The Zephyrians in the engineering section stopped what they were doing and stared at Jake. Several of them reached for communication devices to report the situation, but Jake had already taken control of all internal communications. You see, Jake continued, when you steal someone's blueprints, you get everything that comes with them, including security systems, backdoor access points, and administrative override protocols that only the original designer knows about. Crixnall's green skin turned pale. You are saying that you designed this station? Every system, every circuit, every line of code, Jake confirmed. The Zephyrians stole my work and copied it exactly. not realizing they were giving me the keys to their greatest achievement. Alarms continued sounding throughout the station, as more Zephyrian operators discovered they could no longer access their own systems. Jake's takeover was complete. Nexus Prime now responded only to his commands. Administrator Vexthul burst into the engineering section with several security officers. "What is the meaning of these system failures?" he demanded. Jake turned to face the station administrator. "They are not failures. They are features. This station is operating exactly as I designed it to operate, under the control of its original creator." Vexthul stared at Jake with growing understanding and rage. "You did this. You sabotaged our systems." "I did not sabotage anything," Jake replied calmly. "I simply took control of technology that belongs to me. Technology that was stolen from my people and used without permission." The alien administrator made angry clicking sounds. "This station was built by Zephyrian engineers using Zephyrian knowledge. Your accusations are ridiculous." Jake gestured to the control displays around them. "Then explain how a primitive human can control advanced Zephyrian systems that your own engineers cannot access." He entered a command that dimmed the lights throughout the station, then brought them back to full brightness. Another command cycled the artificial gravity in the alien quarters, making several Zephyrians stumble. A third command played a recording of Jake's voice through every speaker on the station. "Attention Zephyrian personnel," the recording announced. "This station is now under the control of Engineer Jake Morrison of Earth. All defensive systems have been deactivated. All communications are being monitored." Jake stood in the center of the engineering section while Zephyrian technicians stared at him in shock and fear. Their greatest technological achievement had been taken away from them by a single human engineer, using nothing more than knowledge and preparation. Administrator Vexthul looked like he wanted to attack Jake, but held back when he realized the human now controlled every system that kept them alive. "You cannot do this," Vexthul said through clenched teeth. "This is an act of war against the Zephyrian collective." Jake laughed and gestured to the control displays around them. "You are the ones who declared war. My people discovered your fleet movements toward human colonies. You invited us here to show off stolen technology while your military prepared to attack defenseless settlements." Kate Phillips moved closer to Jake's position while keeping watch on the Zephyrian security officers. She had her portable computer ready to assist with any technical challenges, but Jake seemed to have everything under perfect control. "Dr. Anderson was right about your purification protocol," Jake continued. "You planned to use this station as a staging area for attacks on human space. You built your weapon using our own technology, then invited us to admire it before you used it to destroy us." Chief Engineer Crixenel stepped forward with desperate anger in his voice. "Even if what you claim is true, you cannot hold this station. We have thousands of personnel and you are only 2 humans." Jake entered commands on his control interface that locked down every access hatch and corridor junction throughout the station. "I do not need to fight thousands of personnel. I control their environment, their transportation, their communications, and their life support. Your people can move around the station, but they cannot access any critical systems or leave their assigned areas." To demonstrate his point, Jake activated the internal security systems. Blast doors sealed off the engineering section from the rest of the station. Emergency lighting activated in the corridors. The artificial gravity in the alien quarters fluctuated just enough to make movement difficult. "Stop this immediately," demanded Vexthul. "You are endangering thousands of innocent beings, like you endangered human colonies." Jake replied coldly. "I am not going to hurt anyone unless they force me to defend myself. But I'm also not going to let you continue your war preparations." Jake opened a communication channel to the New Horizon. Captain Hartford's voice came through clearly on the station's speakers. "Jake, we are reading massive system changes throughout the station." "Are you in control?" "Completely," Jake replied. "Nexus Prime is now under human administration. I recommend you contact Earth Command and inform them that the Zephyrian threat has been neutralized." Administrator Vexthul made angry clicking sounds. "Earth will not believe your lies about stolen technology. This will be seen as an unprovoked attack on a peaceful diplomatic mission." Jake pulled up technical schematics on the main display screen. "I have complete documentation proving that every major system on this station was copied from my Project Meridian designs. I also have communication logs showing how the stolen data was transmitted to your people 3 years ago. Earth Command will have all the evidence they need. While Jake talked, he continued monitoring the station's systems through his hidden interfaces. The Zephyrian fleet in the outer system had stopped moving toward human colonies and was now heading back toward Nexus Prime. Apparently, someone had managed to send them a distress signal before Jake locked down all communications. "Your military forces are returning," Jake informed Vexthul, "but they will find a very different situation than they expect." Jake activated the station's defensive systems, but not to protect the Zephyrians. Instead, he reprogrammed all weapons arrays to target approaching alien vessels. The massive battle station that was supposed to spearhead an attack on humanity now stood ready to defend human interests against its former owners. "You are insane," said Crixinal. "You cannot fight an entire fleet with one station." "I am not fighting anyone," Jake replied. "I am simply making sure this stolen technology is not used against its creators. Your fleet can approach if they want, but they will be facing weapon systems that I designed and now control." Kate pulled up sensor readings on her portable computer. "Jake, I am detecting 12 Zephyrian battlecruisers moving in our direction. They will arrive in approximately 6 hours." Jake nodded calmly. "Plenty of time to make some improvements to our defensive capabilities." He began activating manufacturing systems throughout the station. The alien-built factories that had been producing Zephyrian military equipment now switched to Jake's production protocols. Automated assembly lines began constructing defensive platforms, communication arrays, and weapon systems based on updated human designs. "What are you doing?" asked Vexthul as he watched factory displays showing rapid construction activity. "Upgrading," Jake replied simply. "The Zephyrians copied my 5-year-old designs, but I have been developing improvements since then. This station is about to become far more advanced than your people ever imagined." Jake's manufacturing protocols produced defensive systems that no Zephyrian engineer could understand or counter. Quantum encrypted communication arrays that could contact Earth in real time, shield generators that used improved field harmonics, weapons platforms with targeting systems that could track multiple threats simultaneously. "This is impossible," said Crixinal as he watched the construction displays. "Our manufacturing systems cannot produce technology this advanced." "Your manufacturing systems are built from my designs," Jake explained patiently. "They can produce anything I program them to make. The Zephyrians copied the hardware, but never understood its full potential." Captain Hartford's voice came through the communication system again. "Jake, we are receiving priority transmissions from Earth Command. They want a full briefing on the situation." Jake established a secure communication link with Earth using his new quantum arrays. Within minutes, he was talking directly to Admiral Roberts at Space Command headquarters. The conversation lasted over an hour, as Jake transmitted evidence of the technology theft and explained the current tactical situation. Earth Command confirms that a colonization fleet is being prepared. Jake announced to the Zephyrians when the communication ended. They will arrive in 2 weeks with enough personnel to establish a permanent human presence on this station. Administrator Vexthul looked shocked. "You cannot colonize our station. This is Zephyrian territory." "This is human technology in neutral space," Jake corrected him. "The station was built using stolen human designs without permission or compensation. Earth is claiming salvage rights to all technology derived from the theft." As the hours passed, Jake continued upgrading the station's capabilities while monitoring the approaching Zephyrian fleet. The aliens on the station tried several times to regain control of their systems, but every attempt was blocked by Jake's security protocols. "You must understand," said Vexthul during one of their conversations. "This station represents decades of Zephyrian investment and labor. You cannot simply take it away." Jake looked up from his control interface with cold eyes. "You took my life's work without asking. You plan to use it to attack innocent human settlements. Now you are complaining about the consequences of your choices." The Zephyrian fleet arrived exactly on schedule, but they found a very different reception than expected. Instead of a distress beacon from their greatest station, they received a transmission from Jake Morrison identifying himself as the new human administrator of Nexus Prime. "This is Fleet Commander Zexkar," came the reply from the lead battlecruiser. "You will surrender control of our station immediately or face the consequences." Jake activated the station's defensive systems in response. Hundreds of weapons platforms emerged from hidden bays and trained their targeting systems on the approaching fleet. Shield generators created protective barriers around the station's critical sections. The stolen technology that was supposed to attack humanity now stood ready to defend it. "This is Engineer Morrison," Jake replied calmly. "You are approaching a human-controlled facility. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate defensive measures." The Zephyrian fleet held position just outside weapons range, while their commanders tried to understand the situation. Their greatest achievement had been taken from them by the very beings they had planned to attack. The station they could not live without was now controlled by someone who understood it better than they did. "Final offer," transmitted Commander Zexkar. "Withdraw your personnel and return control to legitimate Zephyrian authority." Jake looked around the engineering section at the defeated alien technicians. "Counteroffer. Acknowledge that this station was built using stolen human technology. Provide compensation for the theft and agree to non-aggression treaties with human colonies. In return, your personnel will be allowed to leave safely." The communication channel went silent for several minutes while the Zephyrian fleet commanders discussed their options. Finally, Commander Zexkar's voice returned with barely controlled anger. "We reject your terms. Prepare for combat." Jake sighed and activated his defensive protocols. "I was hoping you would be more reasonable." The battle that followed was brief and decisive.